Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Colton Ogburn, and let's talk about the huge new reveals in the first official teaser trailer for Stranger Things Season 5. And we are going to break down all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed. And a little later, I will be joined by my friends Tommy Bechtel, the guy who's always on break, and Doug's attorney, Mike Mazzella. And hey everybody, remember, ScreenCrush is on all of your favorite podcast platforms, and I want to encourage you to become a member of our merch store so you can get free stuff. Links are in the description below. So we open with Steve redirecting a radio antenna from the top of a van, leading into a countdown. Now, I am looking forward to asking Mike and Tommy what they think this could mean in a bit, but remember, in Season 1, they did use radio frequencies to communicate with Will in the Upside Down. So I wonder if they have figured out how to weaponize radio waves to send them into the Upside Down. Or maybe these waves can amplify Eleven's powers. Next, we cut to various members of the cast waiting, but also this shelter. Now, remember, Season 4 ended with a rift opening under town, destroying many people's homes, and now months later we see people are still living in these shelters. Next we see Will touching the back of his neck, and we can see chill bumps showing that he is still connected to Vecna and the Upside Down, just like he has been ever since he was taken there in Season 1. Now I love this shot of the military trucks heading into Hawkins, but the kids are still casually riding their bikes, and this is a great visual to show how much this show has changed, but that the characters are still the underdogs trying to solve this problem. So next we see the military march past this gate, and because this is out in the open, I would assume that there are gates like this all over town, because remember, in the previous season we began to see the Upside Down merge with our world. Next we see Dustin visiting Eddie Munson's grave. Remember, last season the townspeople of Hawkins thought that Eddie was a Satanist, serial killer, and religious fundamentalist blamed him for the rift opening, which they think is a gateway to hell. And I've actually heard a really fun theory about the return of Eddie Munson in this season that I want to run by Tommy and Mike here soon. So next we see Max is still in a coma after she saved the team last season and was brought back to life by 11. We see the military trying to close the gates with flamethrowers while the team goes to the source, Hawkins' lab in the actual Upside Down. This is ground zero for the rift that 11 created, the rift that formed the Upside Down in Season 1. Next we see the original boys do the fantastic four hands in a circle move over a map and some D&D figures, just like in Season 1 when they used the Demogorgon to explain the Upside Down, so I love that D&D figs are still informing their strategic planning. Now here we see 11 speaking to Mike before she goes into a sensory deprivation tank, probably to confront Vecna in the Black Spirit world. And that is when she came in contact for the first time with the Demogorgon. So then, after a few shots of characters being together, we get an awesome sneak peek of the rest of the season. We get a Demogorgon reaching for someone. I'm pretty sure it's Max in the Upside Down. And then we see federal agents led by Linda Hamilton. This is great casting. In past seasons, the Duffer Brothers have made sure to cast 80s icons like Sean Astin and Paul Reiser in these roles, and Linda Hamilton is of course famous for playing Sarah Connor in Terminator.
Other person, are you biting your lips again?
I know, it's a terrible habit that I have, especially when I'm feeling overwhelmed or anxious, but I'm actually getting a lot better about it now that I'm replacing that bad habit with a positive one. Fume, they're the sponsor of this video. And I'm sure that you guys have your own bad habits that you would like to quit, especially in social situations when you feel anxious or just bored. For me, Fume has been a game changer. Fume doesn't use smoke or vapor, just natural flavored air that gives you something to reach for, and it doesn't have all those harmful chemicals. Studies have shown that quitting a habit cold turkey is actually really bad for you, so I really liked having something to reach for when I feel the urge. It's an alternative to other harmful habits. Now, Fume is an award-winning flavored air device that doesn't use combustion, and it's not even electronic. You can use it anywhere. There's no smoke, no vapor, no chemicals, just naturally flavored air. It just has these plant-based cores that taste great. And they just introduced mango, my new favorite flavor. It's bolder than past flavors that I've tried, and I recommend it if you want to switch things up. Now remember, these are non-toxic flavors, and they are guilt-free alternatives with natural ingredients. And also, I love the magnetic, fidget-friendly design that makes this incredibly satisfying sound. Guys, more than 500,000 people have already added fume to their daily routine, and I totally get why. It's simple, satisfying, and it doesn't come with any of the downsides of your old bad habits. And right now, if you order the Journey Pack using my code ScreenCrush, you will get a free fume topper. It is this rubber piece on the end that you can chew on, and it is great for oral fixation anxiety. So if you've been thinking about changing your habits, this is a perfect first step. So go to tryfume.com/ScreenCrush or scan the QR code on screen to grab yours today. Now, back to what I was saying. Next, Eleven and Hopper look at a massive wall of egg sacs, Vecna's army that is about to hatch and take over the Earth. We then see Max awake in her hospital scrubs being hunted by demodogs. So maybe, like Will, she will now have a connection to Vecna that they can exploit. She might even have powers similar to Eleven's. Next, we get various action shots that look amazing, and we've had to wait 4 years for this season, but that's okay because the visual effects really look polished. Next, we see Steve driving through upside down gunk like Lando escaping the Death Star in Return of the Jedi. Joyce is wielding an axe just like she did when she tried to use an axe to free Will in season 1. And I thought this shot was interesting. This looks like Mrs. Wheeler hiding Holly in a tank of water. And there's been a lot of speculation that Holly will disappear early in the season like Will did in episode 1.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
Vecna's cloud then circles this tower, maybe because of the change in radio frequencies that we talked about at the start of the trailer. Here we can see Hopper throwing grenades. Remember, he is a Vietnam vet, so he's got training with this type of hardware. We then see Steve drive his cart with a radio antenna strapped to the top, supporting our theory about weaponizing radio waves while he drives through the Upside Down. We also see these soldiers who I think might be the Russians re-invading Hawkins. And we see Eleven doing this wirework leap using her telekinesis to jump onto this bus, and then the trailer ends with the return of the series' big bad Vecna. But what does it all mean? Well, I'm gonna ask Tommy and Mike now.
Okay, well, I am joined by my friends Tommy and Mike. Guys, at first I want to get your thoughts on the trailer, and then I want to get into like some theories. I have a cool theory that my wife shared with me that I want to get your guys' thoughts on. But first, Tommy, what did you think of the trailer?
Well, so this is the thing I have with Stranger Things. It takes so long for these seasons to come out. Ever since basically the first 2 seasons, it's been year plus long wait times in between seasons. And I start to get cynical, and I start to get like, these kids are too old. Oh, come on, the story's flat. I don't care as much. And then they release the first trailer, and I'm immediately brought back to how it felt when the show first came out, and that magic around this, as we were saying off camera, Mike brought up, like this original, this kind of new universe that exploded onto the scene in, what was it, 2018 or whatever, or 2016. And I just am back in. I'm fully back in. And I thought that this was a great teaser trailer. I mean, there's a lot. They shoved a lot into 2 minutes and 46 seconds, but I'm here for it.
I think it was about 2016 because I remember I was still living at home and it dropped on Netflix. I had just graduated, and my girlfriend at the time, we were watching it, and then she was going home, and I was like, I kind of want to keep watching it. I binged the whole season that night.
You committed the cardinal relationship sin of binge cheating. Yes.
Mike, what did you think of the trailer?
I'm kind of hyped for it, honestly. I think that this probably is going to be the most action-packed season of Stranger Things. And it's kind of that thing where they've been building and putting so many pieces on the board over the seasons, and this is where we get to see it all finally culminate. In the trailer, I spotted a Demogorgon. I spotted Demodogs. I think there's going to be Demobats. I'm waiting for Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome.
I made the same joke when I was recording earlier. Yes,
that's the real underground.
But yeah, it looks like they're bringing all the variations together to have like one big epic battle. I think at the end of the trailer, we saw that shot of Vecna stepping through like a thing that's like dissolving in front of him. I think maybe that's him coming into our world or coming into Hawkins in the real world and kind of unleashing the hell of the Upside Down on the real world. And I think that's going to be really epic. I'm really happy that they're back in Hawkins. No more California, no more Russian gulag. We're back home. The whole gang's here. And we're going to group up for one big team fight. It kind of feels like Avengers Endgame, honestly.
Okay, so you said, that shot of Vecna at the end. And I agree that that's Vecna. But I think we, in our breakdown, we talked about that being Vecna. My wife said, I wonder if it's Eddie. I don't know, because they weren't showing the face. I think that shot is Vecna, But I do think that Eddie is going to be in this as a character from D&D called Kaz. Kaz. It's like he's like a servant of Vecna in D&D. What do you guys think about that?
That would be really cool to see. I'm thinking, like, did they bring his body back after he died, or did they leave him there? Because we see the shot of the tombstone in this that says, like, burn in hell written on it in blood. So and maybe that's just ceremonial. Maybe they didn't bury a body, but I thought that maybe they had brought his body back through with them so that the cops could, like, close the case, right? Otherwise, they would assume that he was just still at large somewhere because they presumed that he was the one that killed Chrissy.
Right. But to my remembrance, I believe that the only notification of his death is that Dustin goes to tell, I think it's his uncle that he lives with, that he's dead. And he, like, kind of it's almost like in real world terms, like the soldier returning home and telling the parent, like, oh, your kid was killed in combat. But I don't think they recovered his body from the Upside Down. I'm pretty sure it's still down there. And I love the idea of him being this, like, servant vessel to Vecna now, because it's so opposed to, like, the person that was Eddie Munson on the show, that he would now be serving this evil lord. But it's also, there's part of him that probably think it was rad that his grave was defaced and said burn in hell on it. I'm like, oh, yeah, he'd actually probably love that.
Well, if he's coming back, then, Barb, bring her back too. I mean, anybody that's died in the Upside Down, we should get a big reunion.
They brought Billy back in the third season after they brought him back in a flashback, right? Billy came back in season 4, I think, for like one episode.
He should get his shot at redemption too. He should get to finish that love arc with Mike's mom. I want to see that happen.
Yes.
We know Joseph Quinn plays Eddie, and he was a huge, beloved character in the previous season, and now he is playing Johnny Storm. So I think that they're 100% going to bring him back. I don't think Netflix can help themselves. And also, we have to remember, and as we were talking a little bit before we got started, one of the great things about this show is it's original. It's not based on a book. There's no source material, like you were saying, Mike. But there is a little bit of source material in terms of, it borrows a lot from D&D lore. And so I think with him being this vampire-esque character already, he's this punk rocker and all that. I really do think that they're going to borrow from D&D and have this, like, Kaz-type character return as Vecna's servant. I think Eddie would be a great choice for that. But that's my little theory there. Tommy, did you have any theories after watching this trailer?
Yeah, I think, the entire show, it begins with a D&D quest between the 4 boys. And I think that, much to, like, what you're saying, we've had, like, kind of a classic D&D campaign over 5 seasons. We've had mini boss battles. We've had different, like, every season has a different adversary. The first season was just a Demogorgon. Then we learned that there are multiple Demodogs, Demobats, Demogorgons. Like that was just one. It's the way, like, when you play D&D as a kid and you discover that the first tough battle is just a tiny fraction of what you're going to face in a boss battle. And I think that is basically what this is leading towards. We're going to have, not dissimilar to Return of the King. It's like all the bad guys are going to come together, all the good guys are going to come together, and they're going to face off. And ultimately, I think it's going to be up to 11 to defeat Vecna, but it will be with the assistance of all of the skills and all of the things that the boys and Winona Ryder's character, Joyce and Hopper. It's like, I think it still centers around those 4 boys and then 11 ultimately at the end.
One thing about this show is that I'm a huge fan of the first season. And I think that my interest in the show has tapered as it's gone on.
Sure.
And to quote Family Guy, I almost feel like it kind of insists upon itself.
It insists upon itself.
Yeah. What does that even mean? But to your point, I guess it kind of really is, Tommy, like a D&D campaign, because it just goes on for ever. Like most D&D campaigns, it never ends. So that's a fun point. Yeah.
And I also think, like, it borrows liberally from massive franchise movies. Like, I had a long theory of I think it was season 3 that was 9 episodes. And I was like, oh, they're doing this in a trilogy. They released them 3 episodes at a time. I'm like, this is all going to be mapping Star Wars. And like, you see in the trailer, they have an homage to Jurassic Park, which is obviously a 90s film, but they have the raptor scene. He covers, I think it's Lucas and Max. I think we see Max is clearly getting out of her hospital bed.
Yeah, she's got to get out of that coma. She's got to survive.
She's got to get out of that coma.
Yeah, she can't just be in a coma the whole season. She's gonna come out of it. They're gonna have their relationship rekindled. They're gonna have a sweet little moment like that where they save each other from the Demogorgons. I think. Dovetailing off of what you were saying, Tommy, I do think that and as you said, Colton, it doesn't have original source material, but it does borrow heavily from established horror franchises. I always thought that season 3 was kind of more like Poltergeist. Season 4, I think, is a lot like Nightmare on Elm Street, especially with kind of Vecna being like a Freddy character. And now with this new one, like I said, I think this is going to be the big action-packed season. Historically, with horror movies, what happens, you have a really creepy, unique idea that is the original horror movie, and then the sequels become action movies. Like Terminator is a horror movie, but Judgment Day is an action movie, right? Alien is a horror movie, but Aliens is an action movie. I think this final season is going to be our James Cameron sequel action movie with just a big...
Complete with Linda Hamilton.
I was about to say...
Linda Hamilton. I literally jumped up when she came on screen. Yeah. Ryan texted me the trailer and was like, new trailer just dropped. And my first text back to him was, Linda Hamilton, all caps, ! So stoked.
Yeah, I think that definitely is a good sign for this being a more action-packed season. Tommy, you were just mentioning how they release the show and all that. What do you guys think about the release schedule? It's like Netflix can't decide if they want to, drop it all at once, which... Yeah, that's fun, and that was kind of a thing, I think, that was more popular maybe 7 to 10 years ago, like the binge thing. But now there's so much content that we're kind of seeing traditional TV come back around where people like having oh, it's Wednesday night, I'm going to watch this episode. And Netflix is kind of embracing that, and I think it's smart because... I think during the pandemic, when everybody was at home, binging was more popular. But now people are back in the office and stuff, and they like to have water cooler talk. So I think it's good to give legs a show by breaking it up. But Netflix is doing this thing where they refuse to do the week by week release. So they're releasing the first half on one date and then the
November 25th, December 25th. Yeah.
December 26th, and then day after Christmas, and the New Year's Day is the finale. So when you're incredibly hungover, you can ring in the new year by finally finding out what happens at the end of Stranger Things. I think it's a good idea too. I remember when I was a kid, my favorite show was Lost, and my science teacher loved Lost, and we would start every class by just talking about what happened on Lost that week. And you have to give people that opportunity, especially in a show that has so many unanswered questions and weird phenomena. I think you need to let it kind of percolate and let people get their theories out there. And that's how you build a really organic fan experience, is having everyone experience it simultaneously.
I had that with the teacher as well, except it was for Walking Dead.
Nice.
Every Monday we'd talk Walking Dead.
Instant gratification, Tommy, is just drop them all. Tommy, who knows he lives in Rochester, New York, and right around that time it's going to be so cold I'm not going to want to leave the house, is thrilled to have a little breathing room. Also, we got to remember something about these episodes. They're Game of Thronesing this thing. These episodes are 90 minutes long each, I think. I think the shortest episode is 90 minutes. I think some of them push 2 hours.
Well, I was going to say, somebody did their research. I didn't know that. That I hope that's true. I hate this era of 38-minute episodes.
No, these episodes are all, maybe it's an hour long plus with some of them reaching an hour and a half, but I'm fairly certain each episode is about the length of a feature film. And I remember reading that. And for me, 3 of those at a time is plenty to us to talk about in talkbacks and breakdowns, and B, societally to have a discourse about it. It's if you release 15 hours of Stranger Things content, it's going to be, it's too monolithic almost to discuss in any sort of entertaining way. It's just it's like trying to eat an entire elephant or whatever. It's the eat the elephant thing. But I personally think that like this is going to be a more epic viewing experience than people are fully taking in right now. Once those episodes drop, and there's going to be probably shocking moments in each episode. I don't think everyone's going to make it out alive. I think that's part of it being a horror production is you have to kill people, and they've shown a willingness to kill lesser known characters and even characters that are beloved like Eddie Munson. But like, we lost Barb, we lost Billy, we lost a lot of innocent Hawkins residents have just died basically unceremoniously. Like, the Demogorgon like blob thing ate like 100 people in season 3, and it was just kind of like, yeah, that happened.
They're marketing this as the final season. I think that'll last 3 years. There's no way that they don't stop milking this thing till it's dead. But speaking of dead and dead characters, I wanted to ask you guys a super last question. Who do you think, if anyone, is going to die in this final season? I think Will is on the chopping block. They've already like fake killed 11, fake killed Hopper. They've done all that. My personal pick is I think Will, it all started with him. I think it's all going to end with him. What do you think?
It's going to be that way. I actually agree. My pick for the main like core cast death is him, or possibly his older brother. And I think it's going to be I think because it's going to require a sacrifice to finally seal the Upside Down from the outside world temporarily until 3 years from now when they unleash Stranger Things, like whatever. I think it's going to require an act of sacrifice. That's just the way these epic things are. Like you can't, and it's too cruel to kill Hopper and 11 because we've been waiting 3 seasons for them to be a normal family. I think they're going to get there happily ever after as a father and daughter. I mean, Millie Bobby Brown's 39 now, but it's still...
Well, and the spinoff is going to be called Stranger Things. So I'm
Strangish Things.
I think it's going to be called
with Anthony Anderson,
Young 11.
Strangish Things. I have a theory. I think you're right. It is going to end in an epic battle. Somebody's going to die. I think I know who it is. I think they kind of told us in the trailer. And unfortunately for all the fans out there, I think it's going to be Steve. I think Steve Harrington's going to bite the big one. So they start the trailer by showing that Steve is now working at a radio station, and radios have been incredibly important throughout the entire story, like start to finish. You got, Dustin with his radio and Susie, and I think like last season, like Lucas was using the radio to like warn them and stuff. Like that's always been like kind of an important thing. And he's working at this radio station. I forget what it says on the outside, but it says like 50,000 watts or something. So it's like, what's the one place in town that has enough power to generate the wormhole or whatever it is that we got to do? And then there's a shot in the trailer of Robin looking up at a giant radio tower, and like a bunch of upside down like essence or whatever is forming like a tornado around the radio tower. I'm thinking that's the big epic final like plan to stop this. And that maybe Steve and Robin or Robin, one of the two of them or both of them, probably going to die.
I think you're on point with Steve. My wife's a big fan of the show, had the same thought that it's going to be Steve. He's had the most, I think, character development, like, where he started in season 1. He's the character that's grown the most. And yeah, and his relationship with Dustin, if he sacrifices himself to save Dustin, that's going to be,
right.
That's going to hit hard.
How many more older brother figures have to die in the name of Dustin, though? Eddie Munson already did it. Listen, keep the staff of Scoops Ahoy alive, okay? Robin lives, Steve lives. I think there's a strong probability because they have teased his death so many times. Like, I was so sure he was going to die in season 1, especially when he, to use wrestling terms, makes that huge face turn going from literally the villain of the first 2 episodes or 3 episodes to being the guy with the bat with nails that's saving all the kids, and now has morphed into this like fairy godmother figure for the boys, where he's just kind of like, I don't want to do it, but I'll always show up for you. It's like, I do think his death would be devastating and meaningful, and I don't want it to happen, but it would be a powerful plot point.
Well, who better die is Vecna. We better see the death of Vecna in a gruesome form. Yeah. All right, guys, that was a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining me. You can find their links down in the socials below. And I want to hear all of your thoughts down in the comments below. What did you think of this trailer? What theories do you have? Did we miss anything in the breakdown? Let me know down there. Or you can come harass me on our Discord. Link in the description below for that as well. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell so you get notified every time we upload a new video. For ScreenCrush, I'm Colton Ogburn.